We're in.
We're in. We're all the way in, yeah. Knees deep in. What's going on, mother lovers? We are back with another show. That's right. Stuff you might not never know nothing about. My name is MysDiggi. I'm your host with my co-host here, Dan DNA. What's going on? He managed. Hey, we got it together, man. We had some slight technical hitches, but as you know, Dandolph, the wizard.
It was a bit hairy at the time. Hairier than my beard.
Yeah. I don't know if you can get hairier than that at the moment. That's you're on some Sasquatch level with that beard.
And I'm under the COVID again. You know.
Oh, is it you? You run down there? Nah, jeez. Run down, Dan. It's run down, Dan week. That's it. It's the time of the month, man. You know what I mean? In this cold weather. Have you been working outside?
Do you know what I think it was? I was using some hydrofluoric acid, and I got some down my fingernails, and my fingernails gone all black under the fingernail sort of thing. Oh, but wow. I think I breathed quite a lot of it in as well. I should have had I put a mask on after the first day, but I think that first day, I think it's probably done a bit of internal damage. Now it's all clearing out again. Because I don't feel ill. I just
sound ill.
I just sound ill.
Yeah. You look ill as well.
Oh, thanks.
Just a little bit. It's not, you know what I mean? Not in a bad way.
There is looking ill in a good
poorly. You know what they used to say? He's poorly. Yeah, he looks poorly. He was a poorly chap. You know, someone describes you as that. Like, right, okay, man. Like, you know, I was just having a bad day then. No, I look poorly. Yeah, it's good to hear though, man. You're coming out the other side of it.
Yeah.
Rona, it's another chapter now, innit? The weather's hit. People thought we could get out of it, would be cool, but no. We're going to hit you with some snow. Shout out to the chat room, the Uncommon Senses, Robbie Love, Turbo Tubalicious, what's going on? Liz Williams, you're more. Hey, we're about to get into it tonight, mother lovers. Yes, we are. You know we are. We always love to, and we can't help but do it. But first of all, we got to give a shout out to the Cannasseurs. CannasseursUK.com. Make sure you hit them up for all your CBD specialities, especially when it comes to chocolates. You know, you got a sweet tooth out there. Make sure you do it the right way. Or if you've got any ailments, any pains, any rashes, you know, your joints might be hurting a little bit. They got some natural CBD balms. Also, sprays. You can get indica or sativa, or you can get the full spectrum. And, of course, the chocolate stirrers. Can't forget. You know what I mean? I'm the voice of chocolate velvet cake, so I've got to let you lot know that. And it's quite obvious by now, if you haven't tried it already, that CBD is very helpful for all types of ailments, whether it be pains, as I mentioned, arthritis, anxiety, depression, sleep disorders. Many of you can't sleep at night properly. You might need to take some CBD. I'll go full spectrum or indica if that's the case. It's also known for good for acne, Parkinson's disease, nausea and vomiting. You know what I mean? But obviously that's not on the alcohol. Don't be like going out there getting drunk, getting wasted, and then think you can just spray some CBD and all of a sudden everything's like back to normal. Then that's not how it works, bruv. You know what I mean? Don't be doing that. But yeah, there's a lot of information out there. But we like to make sure that people get, you know, the right product. This is the person I buy from, so I would advise to go there. Cannasseurs UK. And if you go to the checkout, they've been kind enough to let us know that anyone who listens to the show, just type in SYMNNKNA. That's Simna. And you get yourself 20% off any order, mother lovers. All right, we have to get that out of the way. And now, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me introduce our brother, you know what I mean? Third member of the show. You know what I mean? He's like would it be the red man of the Wu-Tang or the Capadonna?
Like that one, that's a good one, boy.
Yeah, man. D.V.G, what's going on, brother?
Yeah, all good, man. All good.
Good to see
I'm
you,
not
man.
sure from looking at the camera. I don't think I'm really sitting in the right place. So let me try and.
I'll adjust it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, all good, man. Thanks for having me back on. Yeah, man, all good, man. Keeping it moving.
Yes, had to do it, man. Had to do it. Thank you for joining us, man, as always. Spreading some good knowledge, man. Our guest that we got coming up with us, you introduced me to her material.
Yeah, I've known Gaby for like a few years. We got introduced by a mutual friend. And we did a few shows like a year or two ago. And since then, Gaby's been doing some amazing work on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And at the moment, I'd say she's one of my favorite syncretists. So that's why I suggested you guys speak to her. So, yeah.
Yes, definitely. And without further ado, Gaby Zacara, please.
Hey.
What's going on? Hello, welcome to the show.
Hi, good, glad to be on. Thanks for having me.
No, we appreciate it. Yeah, sorry about there was a little slight technical hitch we had earlier, but we're good now.
All in divine timing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, introduced me to you. I was checking out your stuff on Instagram, and obviously, you're doing stuff on TikTok as well. But it was very interesting, like a vast amount of knowledge, stuff you were sharing. The things that interested me a lot were things to do with the chakras. You were talking about the chakras. And so, first of all, let's get a little bit of background. How did you get into, I guess, syncretism in a way, but there must have been something that drew you into it, first of all, from one aspect of it all.
Yeah, it was... I'd started, I'd always believed in like angels and I'd seen ghosts when I was younger and stuff like that. So I'd always kind of believed that there was more to life, but I didn't believe in God. For some reason, angels were okay, but God just wasn't.
Yeah.
And like what happened was I ended up going vegan and at the same time like learning about like the soul and how our souls are polarized when we're in the ego and stuff. And learning about like near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, and like quantum physics as well. And then I did some like vegan activism because I was hanging with a lot of friends who were all like basically just like wasting our lives away just smoking weed every day. I was fully addicted to weed and I didn't want to do like I wasn't doing my music. It was more like a crutch rather than like a tool for me at that point. So I ended up having to like move home. I couldn't really afford to be renting a place out and I just had like no friends where I was. So I was like, I'm gonna go and like do some vegan activism and try and find some like vegan friends. And then it was just doing that I met a group of people. And what actually really surprised me was I thought that veganism and spirituality came hand in hand. So I really thought everyone was going to be like conscious and knew about your soul and stuff. Because if you see it in animals, then why would you not see it in yourself kind of thing? But they weren't. So I was like so surprised that no one really wanted to talk about like spirituality and stuff. But then at one of these vegan parties, I did meet someone who was fully like way down the spiritual like line to me, and he ended up being my spiritual mentor since then. Like all night we spoke about like spirituality. He taught me so much. He put me onto Santos and everything else, kind of like I was just like on a fast track train from then on, and basically this is where I'm at now. And it's only been probably about 4 years, so I've been on like a fast track journey. But it's been really, really like blissful, and I'm so grateful that I've been chosen, or God's chosen me, or I've allowed myself to wake up in this lifetime, because I just like don't want anything more than to try and always be my best self and stuff. And I feel like grateful to actually be gifted this path almost.
Yeah, it sounds like it for sure. All right, so let's wheel it back a bit, because you said you seen ghosts when you were younger. Can you talk about that? Is it something
it was actually like when I was really young, so it was like baby kind of thing. And I think that all kids are born like being able to see spirit and stuff. And we have like our imaginary friends and things like that. And then like eventually people say, oh no, it's your imagination and all this. And you end up turning it off. But there's a few stories where, like, just as one example, we were on like a family holiday in France. And I was like really, really young, and my sister had been ill one evening, and she'd gone to sleep with like one pillow under her head. And in the morning, she had two pillows stacked under her head. But me and her were sleeping up in this like loft room, and there was no one who would have put this pillow under her head. No one really knew how it got there. And so they were all kind of like like the adults were stood around the room the next morning, like, how has this pillow got under her head? So strange. And the guy who used to live at that house, he used to be a doctor, but he ended up passing away. And while we were all like wondering who's done this pillow thing, I kind of like froze and pointed to this door. I was like, man at door, like this, but there was no one there. And everyone like fully freaked out, but they guessed it was possibly this doctor who had put this pillow under my sister's head. And these are stories. There's a few stories where I couldn't remember myself personally. The only time I could remember was just hearing someone walking up and down the stairs this one time. But every situation, either people around me or I reacted in like a fearful way. And so eventually it turned off that ability up until like more recently. And probably I was eating a load of crap as well, like for my whole life, until more recently I've just kind of got a lot more in tune again, really just from cleaning up my diet, to be honest.
Yeah. It's quite interesting talking about that, because I think it's quite hard for people to understand it, that cleaning up your diet does somehow have you more in tune with your body, which then has you more in tune with, the outer vibrations and all that. It's quite tricky though.
Junk food acts like an opioid, and it physically numbs you to your senses, which is why they promote heavily. So it physically numbs you to your energetic senses. You can't sense and feel the energy world around you, which is really the true world that we exist in. And so you are switched off to your spirit guides, to energy, to good and bad energy, bad spells that are on you in life. And obviously then completely out of your power. And we end up just like our lives are just ran by bad spells on us, people wishing negative things for us, and like us kind of being against each other to kind of satisfy the few rather than the many.
Yeah. Do you think that's like definitely a thing that's put out there, the aim to keep us all in some form of way against each other, sort of, pitting against each other, whether it be how you dress or what music you're into or whatever it is some form of way?
It's everywhere though, isn't it? Like everywhere you look, it's how we can compare ourselves to each other. And it's because of how the society's been set up. You can see that it's satisfied this small amount of people who are in power, who are the mega wealthy rich ones. But what is behind them is actually just like negative entities, like demons. They feed off our energy, and so everyone on this plane is really kind of like a puppet for the light and the dark. And so there's like a whole world going on behind the physical, and everyone's kind of like playing up to the energies that surround them. Basically, it's really mad when you start to think about it, and like how far and deep it goes as well.
Would you say that's then, because it sounds like we were talking about that a while ago, about the whole, when people talk about we're living in a projection, like this isn't, because you're saying there's a real world that's more about energy and whatnot. And so are we just a projection of that world then? What's really going on in the light and darks?
Yeah, it's like when you do go to the cinema, you get like the projection of the light onto the screen, and then you see the screen, you see the play. But it is all a projection of our own consciousness. Like, this is not like the real world. It's like the dream world almost. When you die, you wake up from this world. It's like almost a nightmare we're trapped in at the minute, but things are changing because a lot of people are becoming lucid in this dream. And so they're starting to realize, wow, we project this, we can control it and create a beautiful place if we want to. And that's what's kind of happening at the minute.
Yeah. All right. So how have you been navigating through this, you know, the last few years, 3 years or whatever, with all this madness going on? How have you been staying grounded?
Yeah. Grounded is the word, really. Like, connecting to nature has been the biggest thing for me. Like, when the lockdowns happened and you couldn't go anywhere, we just started going out for walks all the time. And one of the coolest things that we figured out is, you know, like how ancient masters use staffs and stuff. They're walking with these staffs. Kung Fu masters had staffs. And when you walk with the staff connects your nervous system to the earth. It connects your palm chakra through the staff. The energy comes through the wood into the earth. And so any negative energy you're carrying gets sent down into the earth, and you also charge up from the earth's energy as well. So it's really healing, and it just gets rid of like bad energy and blocks, and it charges you up. You feel so much better after walking with the staff. And so this is obviously why the ancient masters use staffs, and you can ground without needing to take your shoes off, which is the best.
Yeah, the slippers on. Sifu had the slippers on. He's like, Sifu is like walking with the slippers, but had the staff. And so the staff is what's keeping him grounded. Ooh,
exactly.
Jeez.
Yeah.
A magic wand. All right, let's get Mem in. And I want to, if we can, I'd like if we could break down we say 7 chakras, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
What they are, what they represent. And
yeah, they're just the 7. I mean, the 7 chakras are just our electromagnetic rainbow within us, if that makes sense. So we've got, because the thing is, if you get a torch and shine it on a TV screen, which is not on, so if you get moving white light and shine it on still black light, it creates a rainbow, basically, which is the electromagnetic spectrum, and that is the 7 colors. So we have that within us, and we also have like 7 bodies around us as well. So the 7 chakras are just 7 different energy centers that are resonating at particular frequencies, and the lower ones are so that's why in like the Indian like Vedic system, when they portray the chakras, they put a certain amount of petals around each chakra. So the root chakra has 4 petals because the red light moves very slowly. It's got a very low frequency. But whereas
and the red light that's the lower.
That's why that's the stop in the traffic lights, because it's a slow moving frequency. It's a very dense frequency. Whereas so you got 4 petals in the root chakra. You've got 6 petals in the sacral chakra. You've got 10 in the solar plexus, 12 in the heart, 16 in the throat, 96 in the third eye, and 1,000 at the top. So as you see, the more you go up, the higher the frequency goes. So the blue end has a higher frequency, whereas the red end has a lower frequency. So that's I don't know if Gaby wants to add on to that, but that's how I would explain it simply. So they're just different they're just different frequencies, basically. The 7 colors would be different frequencies.
So Gaby, they don't represent like the parts of the body that they sit at, no? So
I think they kind of do, but what's interesting is each of the 7 chakras correspond to these 7 main glands that you have in your body as well. So this is why when you talk about food is mood, and food like clears up your energy body and stuff, is when your actual glands are working at optimum like capacity through eating well, through proper nutrition, then those glands are working well. And so on the energy realm, the chakra that it corresponds to is also filled with light and positivity. And so it fills your chakras with light. People talk about eating the rainbow, eating all the different colours of fruit and veg, because each of the colours that you eat, it resonates with that same coloured chakra. It's like they're called the 7 rays. And like Mem says, if you split the white light into 7, it forms the rainbow. And anything in this realm that is of that colour resonates with the same energy. So you could hold a specific crystal that stimulates that specific chakra depending on the color. You can wear clothes that stimulate certain chakras depending on the colors. You can even have a lamp in your bedroom that has a certain color and it'll stimulate certain chakras. So it's kind of called color therapy as well. There's loads you can go into with chakras, and it fills up your aura, which is your energy protection shield. And this is important for if you don't want to get psychic attacks, if you want to have good energy and protect yourself from negative energy around you, then the better you eat or the more light your chakras have, the stronger your force field is. May the force be with you. And then like you'll protect yourself, really. You won't get as many psychic attacks and stuff.
So you're saying that people should eat the foods that sort of correspond to those chakras as well. So like, you should eat different colored foods, but you know, so whether they're clean or not, like how would you go about that? Because it's quite hard to.
I'm not talking about Skittles
like...
or sweets and stuff.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, Skittles, they do a good job of getting people into, you know, all these different colors. So all right then, so things like so if you're gonna go for, I'd say like blue, it'll be like what, blueberries and
red cabbage, crown chakra,
aubergine,
yeah,
it'd be quite tricky though to find. I mean, I'm sure those fruits are around the world though, with those sort of colors.
I quite like as well about the chakras is I kind of see them as also the 7 vices and the 7 virtues. So each chakra kind of holds a positive and a negative aspect, and you can use that energy for the positive or the negative. And like in all of the heroes' journeys we talk about, like Hercules and stuff, they always have these like kind of tests that they're put forward, like, and they have to overcome these tests. And I kind of see it in the same way. Like, take, for example, you've got the sacral chakra. This is like your sexual life force energy. You can either use it to like sleep around and like spread your seed far and wide and just into the cosmos, or you can hold on to that energy and use it for like your spells and manifestation and filling yourself with life force energy. So you can use that energy in a lustful way or in like a self-love kind of way. And with each of the chakras, to fill yourself with as much light and almost master yourself, you need to kind of try and use the energy for the virtuous ways rather than the viceful ways. And this is kind of a lot of the tests that you get in spirituality, I'd say.
Yeah. Can I just add to what Gaby just said? Because basically, that's so interesting what you said, Gaby, because, you know, like, for example, because I've got a book on, like, chakras, and I did, like, a series on it on the Syncretism Society. And, like, we always, like, people in the spiritual community always kind of, like, shun the root chakra. Oh, I don't, like, want to be in my root chakra. But a point they were giving in this book is that actually the root chakra is the most important chakra because it's the foundation, and without a foundation, you can't really build upon anything. So it's like a lot of us kind of spend a lot of time trying to master this part without mastering the lower part first and then climbing up, basically, which is like all the stories in the Bible, like Jacob's ladder and like going through the 7 seals and all these like stories. And even like, you know, in the Norse mythology, like the Bifrost Bridge, like you get to heaven through the Bifrost Bridge. Well, that's going to heaven through your Bifrost bridge would be ascending your 7 chakras, so you can connect it to you personally as well, and which is what all those mythologies are about ultimately.
And then they also like correspond to the colors as well, in the same way.
Yeah, they correspond in exactly the same way as the actual rainbow.
That's crazy, isn't it?
So Yumor was just asking in the chat, just going back to this glands thing. Was it the glands of the endocrine system? She was asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Cleansing. Thanks. For real.
And what's quite fun is that the earth has its own chakras as well. And England is called England. So England has it like the UK has its own chakras. The earth has its own chakras. It's almost like the macrocosm and the microcosm. There's consciousnesses all over the cosmos. This is a whole all is atom. Like we are our own atoms, but we are also living in a universal man called Adam Kadmon. I just find it all just like so cool. And we're also living on Gaia Earth, who's the heart chakra of Adam Kadmon. And the layers to it I just find really interesting.
Gaia Earth. Yep. And the heart chakra is green.
Yeah, and heart and earth are anagrams of each other. So if you get earth and take the H and put it at the front, it makes heart. So they're anagrams of each other.
Heart and earth. And if those who listened back a while ago when we had Clint Richardson on, he was talking about that. That was the original name. Like it wasn't the world; it was called the Earth. You know, but then people came along and created their world. That now we have to, you know, we communicate in thinking we know what we're talking about.
But what I quite like about the word world is it is literally the word word, but with the L in. So I like to talk about God created the cosmos through his word. He was a master magician. So was Jesus. So was all the ascended masters. Christians will hate me for saying this, but like magic, the Bible is a book of ghost spells, the Gospels. So everything was created through the word. Jesus's sword was his tongue. And so basically, like God created the world, the word world is word with L, electricity in it. So he created the world with his word. It tells you in the word, which I think is quite cool as well.
There's another one where they say world, like, you know, when you whirl something up, like the idea of that. And that's like, you know, the makeup of a world, you know, like a matrix.
But what's interesting about like using words, and I know you guys like etymology and stuff, is people say like we're living in like a game, we're players in a game. The word player, there's different layers in this game, so we're players and there's layers, and the word lay is energy, so it's all about energy. And then what game is, an anagram of game is mage, which is magi, magistrates, magicians. So if you want to be a magic, like if you want to control the game, you have to become the mage. And the word mage is image, and you use your imagination to create this game and be the mage of the game. So like again, like all these like words and stuff, and going back to magistrates, the laws of the land is like a whole book of spells. And I don't know if you guys have seen, but in London, I think it's like the Houses of Parliament are literally built on a pentagram, and they come up with the laws in this area that's built on a pentagram, and then they're like basically spelling the laws of the land out so that we all follow these laws. So like the way
pull that up, Jamie.
Hollywood and stuff, like there's just so much going on in terms of like black magicians that rule the world. Like basically people who cast black magic, which is basically just demons and dark energy. That's what it is. And it's changing now though, so the light is strong on the earth plane and stuff.
So they do it on a pentagram for real? That's just taking the mick, you know?
It's like you know, Lady Liberty in New York. She's on she has 7 points on her crown, and she's standing on an 11-pointed star. So 7/11 is September 11.
Wow.
So there's when it comes to all that stuff, literally, like, obviously you can go on forever when it comes to etymology and like symbolism, but like it's like I don't know where we're going with like where you guys are trying to take the show, so I'll pass it back over.
No, you know we love the etymology, bruv, man. That goes without saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's just amazing because the thing is, and I think everybody feels it, is like, you know, 1 minute you're saying this, that, and the third, and you think that's what it means, and the next minute you find out there's a whole history behind it, and it makes sense that there would be because, you know, we haven't just got here from nowhere, and then you find out like, wait a minute, this word actually means nearly the opposite of what it means now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Why would that be? And you start to learn more and more about, okay, you really got to listen a lot more than you thought you were ever taught, you know?
Yeah, it's like the word, you know, the word black actually means white. It comes from the word bleach.
Yeah,
or
blanc.
bleak.
And Blake.
And blanc, blanco in Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It comes from that. But like, it just, like, again, it just goes to show how, it's just, because, they're just words to us that we're given and we just go along with it, like, in our, like, younger ages and not really taking a note. But like Gabby says, once you start going a bit deeper and becoming a bit more in touch with your spirituality and looking into things like deeper, it's just like, once the thing, what I've noticed personally is like once you kind of understand what their code is, then you can kind of like
navigate through it.
Yeah, navigate by it, and like, because it's like, you know, like with gematria and etymology and stuff like that, and you start seeing that the number value means the same thing as the word and things like that. Like, to me, this ain't a coincidence. I think it's like a code that's laid out, if that makes sense. And it's just, once you understand that code, you can kind of have half or a bit of a clue of what's going on. I'm not saying I know everything that's going on, but it just helps you understand this matrix a bit better.
Yeah, I think it helps you sniff out the red herrings, you know, like straight away. You're just like, okay, whatever. Like, this is in the news now, you know, like we're seeing it now anyway with a lot of things going on. But what you were mentioning before, I think I saw Gabby talking about that in one of her videos to do with when people say morning and all that, you know, in the morning. Could you break that down for people?
Yeah, well, there's so many, I call them like negative spells, like of everyday words or something. And the word morning, obviously, it's like to be sad. So if you say, oh, morning, good morning, it's like, oh, have you had a good crying session, like, are you mourning? I quite like to say now hi or hiya love, because it's all like positive, but there's loads and loads of words like that, like a lot of slang like terms now. We say, oh, that's dead funny, or oh, I'm dead. If you find something funny, like, you should never cast that spell upon yourself, because all our words do cast spells. If you look at Dr. Emoti's experiments, you can see the power of the word on water molecules, and we're like 80% water or something. And you can physically feel the difference. If you're energetically sensitive, you can feel the difference in the shift within yourself when you say positive things to yourself and when you say negative things to yourself. So we are creator beings mainly with our word and our thoughts and our intentions. We're all magicians, but what we have been made to believe is that magic is some kind of pulling a rabbit out of a hat, so that we'll slag each other off and don't realize the real negative consequences that actually talking negative with our word has. Spells are real. Like, everything you say, everything you think is a spell. And our chakras are portals for light or darkness. They are basically portals into different dimensions. And when we use them in positive or negative ways, we basically bring forth into this plane angels or demons. So if you start slagging someone off and calling them negative things or casting negative spells on them, you're sending a demon to them. that causes them to be that way in their life. It can cause harm to them and things like that. And so people don't realize that a lot of people are actually casting demons into this world. And it's important that people start to realize the power of your own intention, your words, your beliefs, your thoughts, and get control of them, because the new earth isn't going to allow for that kind of stuff.
Where are these demons coming from? Like, because yeah, I've heard people speak about this as well, and then it's always made me wonder. Like, okay, so in terms of ghosts, we could talk about like people who may have passed away in that area or attached to that area in some form of way. But then when demons are being casted on people, where are they coming from, or where are they being conjured up from, do you think?
It's a really good question. So your emotions, basically, there's different planes of existence, and people talk about 7 heavens and 7 hells and things like that.
Yeah.
When you say, if you've got pain in your heart chakra, pain is a demon, and it's also connected to a pain realm. If you die and you are full of pain, it's possible you will get dragged to this pain realm, and basically the universe kind of surrounds you with what you are, for you to experience what you are, to change it. So what happens is, when you feel pain, you open up a pain portal within you that allows pain demons to come out of you. And this is why people talk about you really need to face your shadow and overcome your pain and overcome your darkness, because I think there's a saying, and it says, like, what is within you, if you don't bring it forth, it will destroy you, but if you bring it forth, it'll save you. So it's like, you really need to look at your shadow and face it, and not just let it stay under the surface, because people would rather project their pain onto others so they don't have to feel it, rather than actually facing it and really feeling what it's like and overcoming that demon.
It's like what it's like what Mem was saying about shining the light on the black mirror, and then you get all the different colors. You get, then the spectrum shines. There was something you said about that. I think, yeah, it's quite important, the shadow work. So I guess like there are many ways of doing it, right? Of kind of getting towards, those dark places and trying to just shift out all the madness going on that's lingering throughout your life. But what sort of ways would you say are, ideal for people who, they might not want to do, I don't know, ayahuasca or whatever? What ways could they dig deep, do you think?
I think that one of the best ways is clearing up your diet, because when you physically are eating better and feeling better, it's a lot easier for you to kind of like be in a better state to kind of face all that stuff. So then, like, counseling, talking to people, writing stuff down. What I found was quite helpful was to really kind of put myself in the situation as if facing like my biggest fear, just sitting down and thinking, right, why am I so scared of this situation? Why do I keep reacting so negatively to this? And going, okay, right, let's say my biggest fear was that I'm going to go to hell. Then I'll sit and think about, what if I do go to hell? And I'll accept, okay, fine, I'll accept what it's like to go to hell. And once you accept it and you go, well, it can't get any worse than that, then what happens is, because you've already kind of rationalized, okay, cool, that's good, whatever, then it's less of a threat to you, because you faced your biggest fear. So it's like looking within your own consciousness and working out what your issues are, what your triggers are, and then working out where they came from. Is it because you've got a fear of being left on your own, left behind, everyone leaves you? Then you need to go, okay, well, what if I spent the rest of my life on my own forever? Cool, well, do you know what? I'd be my own best friend, and I'd make loads of like music, and I'd whatever. And you kind of like, you make it seem like it's less of a big scary thing. And then what happens is, the demons and the negative energy that's attached to it, they can't like feed off you as much. It's not like a big thing for you anymore. So you almost belittle it, and then it can go. Some people have real traumas though, and like it can take like years of like therapy and counseling and stuff. And there's different ways that work for different people.
Yeah.
But and some people might even need to take like antidepressants for a little bit. But
Yeah, no. They don't need to do that, man. That's the
yeah,
last
well,
place you need to
I
go.
personally don't take pharmaceuticals, but my spiritual teacher
Yeah.
did, and it actually helped him get through his trauma
Yeah.
initially, and then he was able to overcome it. So I don't condone like pharmaceuticals, but I know people who've actually said that to overcome alcoholism, to overcome trying to commit suicide 3-4 times, that actually did help them out of that situation initially, and then like they've kind of
had to
moved forward past it and stuff.
Okay. So it's just like I guess the catapult, just to like, all right, get away from it all, and then
I think so, yeah. But I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm an expert in like shadow work and stuff. So, but there's kind of some of the stuff that helped me personally anyway.
Well, no, I think I like what you said about actually sort of mentally going through the fear, you know, trying to go through the channels and see what is it am I scared of exactly? What is it that I'm scared of? And then, you know, because it's almost like say like training for, you know, an event that you've got to perform at or whatever, you're as long as you're going through it, even if it's in your mind, like you said, it would desensitize you to that fear in the end, so you can kind of go forth a bit easier.
Yeah,
So
if you don't face it, what happens is the universe will make you, it will literally put you in that situation where you're fully faced with it in person. What I quite used to like about Dreamtime is it will kind of help you face your fears, but without it being real. So you can wake up and then you realize, oh, thank God, like everything is actually okay. So Dreamtime used to be really good for that. And I used to really condone like looking at your dreams and writing them down and kind of like seeing what your subconscious is telling you. But what I've noticed, particularly with the 5G towers and stuff, is that the Wi-Fi and stuff has actually been interfering with people's dreams and just giving people really bad dreams. So it's no longer a reflection of your subconscious. Like you can't really use them as guidance right now until that kind of sorts itself out.
wow, has that been happening? I think people have been definitely like not sleeping as well. You know, so it could probably be that for sure. Like he's just having bad dreams.
Yeah, we're electromagnetic beings, so electromagnetism and electromagnetic smog affects us. Like they have used frequency weapons to change people's moods and stuff like that. So they can definitely do it for dreams as well through your electronic devices.
Yeah. It wouldn't be surprising, to be honest. I think it does. Definitely, you can see it with the children, man. They get a bit chaotic when they're tucked into them iPads and their phones for too long. They just become a bit chaotic, man. Like it's important to get grounded in some form of way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the idea about the staff as well, because it's true. Right about now, it's not. No one's trying to go out there barefoot, like at this time of the year. Yeah. I think that makes sense.
It's ironic you say that, Mice, because it would actually be a really good time because we're in Pisces time, which is the 2 feet.
Wow.
So it would actually, ironically, it probably would be a good time to get in touch with that part of your body.
Yeah.
I just thought I like that.
That's a good point, though. That's a very good point. Okay, so, all right, so I'm trying to think about these chakras again, because there was something you mentioned, Gaby, to do with how color rays, how colors can affect the chakras, right? Color rays and whatnot. So to do with the red light district, and there's like a connection with Mars and whatnot. So how would that affect us, you know, within each chakra? So, you know, I was just trying to understand, like, okay, that makes sense because of Mars, but then how else do they use that? You know, like in what other realms? I guess with the blue light, with TVs or whatnot, would that make sense?
Yeah, I did that red light district video. Nothing else has come to me yet about, oh wow, they do this in the world and I could share that about this color and stuff. But I thought if it comes, I'll definitely do a series on the
Yeah. Because that's interesting. That was very like, oh wow, that makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously,
and
like
Scorpio,
we've been
right?
saying, like obviously the lower chakras are more to do with like your animal nature. So that's why they would have like red lights in Amsterdam, because then that light or that frequency sparks off your lower chakras. So then it will make you get lustful and or whatever. Do you get what I'm saying? It's the same with like they use the red light for the traffic light because it's a dense energy. It symbolizes a dense energy and a slow moving frequency. Hence, you've got to stop. Like, do you get what I mean? So, yeah, a lot of it is symbolic, but a lot of it probably has an actual effect. It's true because, like, when you see, for example, like when I was in Cyprus and I was like surrounded by blue and green, it actually does calm you more down and you're a bit more balanced and you're a bit more like, you know, you're not enraged so much. And it shows by when you go over there and you see like the attitude of the people, they are kind of a bit more mellowed out, whereas here we're a bit more like, we are quite red shifty, like got to get up and go to work and it's busy and it's like hustle and bustle. So like that's how like the colors and the energies kind of interact. And also again it goes back to like what I was saying, like with the frequencies about how certain colors correlate with like certain frequencies. So for example, you know, like Gaby mentioned earlier, the earth has chakras, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at our physical body and the earth, you can see the exact same comparison. And the way you can do this, like for example, right, you know how I said the from green to blue, these chakras are a higher frequency, right? So it means that it's going quicker. Like the light is moving quicker, whereas the red's going slow. But it's interesting because if you look at our body, the top half of our body, which has more of a higher frequency, has a lot more going on. You've got all your organs and everything's going on up here, whereas the lower part of the body is more of just a foundation. It's your legs. It's a more skeletal, and so that's more of the red. Do you get what I'm saying? Whereas the top half of your body is more of the blue. But then when you look at the earth as well, you see the top half of the earth above the equator has a lot more land than the bottom half. So you can see again how, due to there being less frequency at the bottom, there's less land, whereas at the top, towards the north, where it's green and blue and higher frequency, you have more land. So you can see how the earth and the body are syncretized in that way, if that made sense.
Yeah. I see what you're
I've
saying.
actually got, 1 second, I've got my board here.
Yeah. You know, when we love it when the board comes out. What?
I haven't, sorry.
No games. What?
One
No, don't do that to us, man. Don't do that to us, man.
Yeah,
man.
but as you can see, like I've got a little chakra thing going on here. I've got my blue there, my green in the middle, and my red at the bottom.
Something I find interesting as well is like we were talking about how they basically like they invert a lot of stuff. When I talk about I talk about those who used to be in power in this realm. They're not anymore. But they invert things, and so everything is like kind of backwards.
Yeah.
And same with like the red shift, blue shift. So they've told us that red or pink is a girl's color and blue is a masculine color, when it's actually the other way around. And also, if you look at like, you know, magnets, how they've got north and south, well, north is actually blue, but they color it in red. So it's again like they invert so much stuff to make us so confused about the true nature of reality, because it's all really, really simple when you start to learn about it, you see the unity in everything. You just see how the universe is just showing you everywhere the truth. But if you're not aware of it, it's so hard to kind of see it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think like the main sort of, you know, the one thing that remains is like what you said about the inversion. Once you understand how the inversion works, then you just start to see it everywhere. You're like, of course, this is no wonder they're saying that, because it's going to make you do that. And, you know, everything just seems to be like upside down, inside out in some form or way. But once you understand that, it becomes a lot easier to navigate through, like we're talking about.
Yeah.
Just to add on to something, Gaby was saying earlier about, for example, how the chakras are like both negative and positive. For example, it depends on what energy comes through and how you use it. But like, I also like, and this is just going on what Gaby was saying about the inverse thing, is like, for example, in like occultism, mainly in Western occultism, the sun is seen as masculine and the moon is seen as feminine. Whereas in Eastern cultures, it's switched around. So there's like, you've got Radharani in Indian culture, who's the sun, and Krishna, who's the moon, for example. But what I've also come to understand is I also see both like the sun and moon also as being both. And the way I would explain that is, for example, when you look at the sun visually, it's magnetic. Its light is magnetic. So it looks feminine, but its actual effect, you could say, is masculine because it penetrates the earth for things to grow. So you can see it like from a visual perspective and what it actually does. And the same with the moon. So the moon might look more stiff and masculine, but in the reverse, it deals with like your emotions and stuff like that, which is more feminine. So another thing I always say to people is like, look in the mirror or look at the inverse and see how it can always relate to both. Like even in astrology, like Mars in Aries would be more masculine, but Mars in Scorpio would be more feminine because it's in the water element. So you can see that each energy has its yin and yang as well. Although like generally one might be considered feminine and masculine, this is what I always say, physically we're male or female, but spiritually I think we're all hermaphrodites, in the sense that we've got a feminine like right brain and a masculine left brain.
Wow, I've never been called a hermaphrodite before, so
get used to it.
Yeah, but I don't mean it in that way. I mean that like, for example, just because you're male, don't mean you can't tap in to your feminine energy. It don't mean you have to be gay or you have to get what I'm saying. It's just like
100%, man.
There's
just wearing shorts. That's enough.
What I'm saying is, when you understand things from like a spiritual perspective, it's kind of less defined. But in a physical, like in the physical world or our bodies, we're either given to be like male or female.
Yeah, for sure.
So what I'm saying, internally, we're both.
Yeah,
100%, man. Do you want to add on to that, Gaby?
Yeah, our energies and our souls are both. And when we are enlightened, or before we like fell from grace, so when we were at a higher frequency, our souls were unified. So true marriage in all religions and true marriage in general was always actually about the marriage of your masculine and feminine energy within to be one unified soul. So that means in perfect balance and harmony with both energies. You can be like kind of active and a go-getter, but you can also be receptive and you can be a good listener. And there's different kind of traits that the masculine energy has and the feminine energy has, and we can all be both. And we are all meant to become a well-rounded version of both. Like as a team internally, we've got a team of our masculine and feminine together, married as one. But what happens is religion talks about marriage is an external thing, and you have to find your external partner, and you need to go and get married in front of God or whatever it is. But that's completely taking it off from what true marriage actually was, so that we don't realize it's an internal job, not an external one. What happened is when we fell from grace, when we descended or became unenlightened, our souls became polarized. So we were more masculine or more feminine internally as well. We still had both, but rather than being divinely balanced in both, we were just more one or the other. And then what happens is, because you're one or the other, you then look externally for things rather than fulfilling yourself internally. So this is why so many of us now forget you need to do the internal work, and instead they look for people, places, or things outside of themselves to make them feel whole or holy again. But the way you truly feel whole and holy is through unifying your own, and finding your own missing masculinity or your own missing femininity within yourself. And so this is what everyone is doing now, I would say, is learning the truth of what true spirituality is and finding fulfillment within themselves first, because once you're whole within yourself, then you can just be like a whole holy person who can assist others, and you don't need anything external to fulfill yourself.
Yeah, it's quite tricky for people as well because of what is out there in the media, here, there, and everywhere. It's like, look like this, be like this. Oh, you want to live like this, buy this,
Yeah.
So it's quite hard for people to do that, I think. Even with social media, it's like that. I can imagine, it's like scrolling through, you're saying, oh, wow, they look like they're enjoying themselves. I'm not enjoying, you start to look at yourself in a way that you shouldn't, because it's not really about all of that to find true happiness. So I guess like what you're saying, that's definitely an inversion there. The idea of marriage being something outside of yourself. And so I'm guessing like from the beginning, because we've fallen from grace, that now we have to kind of learn how to find that marriage from within. But that's just, we're not taught that at all. We're not told to do that. And so is that a thing that, I'm trying to get at? Can anyone get there, or would they have to sort of follow a certain type of path in order to, find that marriage from within?
There is a path, but everyone can achieve it if you want to. So it's accessible for everyone. I always talk about enlightenment. Santos calls it the holy science or raising the chrism. I don't know if you've heard of that, but raising the Kundalini. Well, yeah. So there is a path. You need to be vegan, because if you eat animal products, you are filling your consciousness with a consciousness that's lower than you. And what you're trying to do is ascend your consciousness from human form up to like godlike, angelic. And animals are on a lower plane than us. So if you put that consciousness within your own consciousness, you're automatically going down, not up. So there's different things that you need to do to actually fill yourself with enough light to go back to that heaven-like state, because our true selves are in the image of God. Like, we are meant to be in a heavenly state. God wanted us to have a good life. He didn't want us to be in the type of plane we're on here. What's happened is, because we've descended so low, the plane you see around us is a projection of our own inner demons. We have created this. And so all the pain, all the suffering that you see is down to how far we've descended. So you need to try and basically fill ourselves with light, because the more we fill ourselves with light, the more we project a higher vision, a higher light into this plane around us. We get a more blissful and beautiful reality. And there is one path to get there. You're not going to get there through murdering people or through there's ways you can get there and there's ways you can't. But everyone can achieve it. So it's not like the ascended masters came down to go, hey, look at me, I'm the Buddha, I've become enlightened and no one else can. They came down to say, hey, look at me, this is how you do it. Do you want to join me and come onto this path of ascending again? And it's a choice if you want to ascend. Like, there's multiple times, like there's eons of times and opportunities where people can ascend. And we're at one of these times at the minute. It's called the new dawning of the golden age, where the energies are shifting as an opportunity for as many people as possible to ascend and become their highest godlike selves if they want to, but you don't have to. It is a choice, but everyone can if they want to.
What is this new dawning of the golden age then? Because I thought we were going into the age of Aquarius now, no? Or
yeah, ma'am, do you want to go for that? Because you know all about astrology.
Okay, yeah, I mean,
the new dawning of the golden age.
Yeah, I mean, in spirituality, you've got like the Iron Age, Bronze Age, the Silver Age, and the Golden Age. And basically, we've been in the Iron Age for like 6,000 years, from my understanding, which is why we've been at such a low frequency and we don't know who we are and we've forgotten our true spiritual self, because hence iron is a very dense metal. So we've been at the most densest point of consciousness, because they say when you're in the Iron Age, you can only attain 25% of your consciousness, Bronze Age 50, Silver Age 75, and the Golden Age is like 100% basically. So we're basically, since we've gone into the age of Aquarius, we're now moving towards the Bronze Age and going towards the Golden Age. But obviously, like, this takes years. Like, the whole cycle is like 25,900 years, basically. Because what it is, there's something called precession in astrology, where every 2,000 years at the spring equinox, you have a different sign rising, basically, for 2,160 years. So once it's done like a full circle of that, that's when you go through the 4 ages, basically, of like the Golden Age, the Bronze, Silver Age, Bronze, and Iron. Basically. So that's how I would explain it in the simplest way possible.
And that corresponds with is it the Yuga?
Yeah, the Yugas, that's it, yeah. You got, so the Iron Age is the Kali Yuga.
Yeah, the Kali
Yuga.
And the
Golden Age would be, I think it's the Satya. I can't remember the exact names in the Indian system, but it's the same system.
Yeah. Wow, man. That's interesting. Right. So the
Kali
Golden Age
in India means black or dark. So that would that would be translated as like the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
Basically.
Right. Okay. So we're entering into the Golden Age, hopefully.
Yeah, or we're moving towards
it. Okay.
More of and because what they say, because obviously we're in the age of Aquarius. So like opposite Aquarius is Leo, where the sun rules. So like they say, because basically from my understanding is that in the age of Leo, we was in the Golden Age, and that's when the whole Atlantis thing happened, and that Atlantis civilization like collapsed, and that was exactly like that would be like 12,000 years ago, roughly.
What, that it collapsed?
Yeah.
So it was. How long was it going on for? Before
I'm not sure how long it was going on for, but from my understanding, that's when it collapsed. And then like from the age of because that was like because then from the age of Cancer you had like if I could.
I'm pretty sure that the Golden Age goes on for up to like 12,500 years. It's the longest age to have.
Yeah, the higher the age, the longer it goes, and then the the Golden Age goes on for the longest, then the Silver, then the Bronze, and then the Iron. That's right, Gabby. Yeah, but if I could, I've got a diagram that that I wish I could show you, or I can send it to you if you want. It shows about like how throughout different ages, different civilizations have ruled. So they said like in the age of Cancer, for example, it was like India ruled the world, and they were like the rulers of the world. And then as it went through the ages, it moved kind of westward. So then like the age of Gemini was like the Persian and like the Zoroastrian age, and then the Taurus you had like the Egyptian age with like Hathor and like the bull, and then the age of Aries was like the Greeks, and then Pisces was like the Abrahamic religions, and then now with Aquarius is a different. So each kind of age has been ruled by a different type of people. But if you notice, all them civilizations, they keep getting further west. So I don't know if that's got something to do with it. It's like a cycle that different parts of the earth are in charge in different periods of in different ages. And apparently in the age of Aquarius, the ruling race will be the Slavs, which is like the Russian Aryan race, apparently.
So what's that, Putin and all that?
Yeah, that's like relates to what's going on now with Russia and Ukraine, basically.
Could that be, all right, so like we talked about with the Bible, could that be another, so even with that, speaking about the ages and who,
that's in the Bible.
Could that be?
I'm not sure, I'm not sure which book it might be Luke, I'm not sure. But Jesus says to someone, walk into the room with the man pouring the water, which is obviously Aquarius. Like he mentions it in the Bible. So it's all in the Bible. Yeah, all of what's going on now in the world, they're just trying to fulfill a prophecy by using like a Bible as like a script, and it kind of tricks people to think, oh look, it said it in the Bible, look, and it's really happening.
Yeah,
like they're just making it happen in accordance to that to give. It's like a trick to keep people even more trapped. Whereas, like Gaby mentioned earlier, they really knew what like the Bible was talking about. It's all alchemical and astrological, and like I mentioned before we come on air, sorry, I don't want to take over the show.
No. Good then.
Like Jesus being born in Bethlehem is when your fluid comes down from your pineal gland and goes to your solar plexus, and a seed is germinated. And basically, Bethlehem means the house of bread. And in your body, the stomach area corresponds with Virgo, basically. And because that's why Jesus is born of a virgin, because a seed is planted every month in your solar plexus. And then what you have to do is raise that Christ up to heaven, and then he gets crucified at the pineal gland, and then it explodes, and your your blood cells get regenerated, and you're purified, basically. So there's so many different elements to the Bible of what it all means. Like that's just one example, and I've explained it very briefly, like not even in detail.
So what I was wondering was like, is it then that they use, the skies as a playbook as well? So they're like, all right, we're ruled by Mars at the moment, so let's do more Martian.
That's right. They do play on that as well, because you can see that through the switch of the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. Because if you think, the age of Pisces is ruled by the element of water. So it was based on like maritime law and shipping and commerce and using the element of water. But now Aquarius is the element of air, and you can see everything's about airwaves, technology, Wi-Fi, computers. Knowledge. So you can see how they use these energies or this archetype to kind of control the world with, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Gaby, can you tell us, like, when did you wake up to, what this world really is about? What was the moment that had you like, okay, I need to actually look a bit deeper into this, to look behind the curtain?
I think it was probably like just getting into Santos's stuff, because I can't remember like how much into astrology I was, but when he was talking about the planets like being the gods and like all the different stories like Snow White and how it all the stories you know of growing up are all about the planets.
Yeah.
It was all that for me. I was just like, what? Like then I was just like, okay, cool. And like then I was introduced to the actual prime source creator God and stuff. So
Yeah.
it was really like then, and you know, like I don't know if you guys had this, but did you ever have a moment where you were like, oh my gosh, like everything is governed by astrology. Like the gods govern everything, even every like thought, every business venture, like every single energy wave that exists is governed by the stars, by the zodiac. And so once you realize, wow, literally everything on this plane is governed by that, you realize how deep it goes. And then that's kind of how I've come with magic now as well, is just realizing like the energy behind things and how much magic is even higher than the planets. The planets, I would say, govern us by magic, but you can actually ascend past the planets and govern your own self and your own life once you learn how to truly be a magician of this plane. And this is what, I don't know if you've read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, but he talks about how when you attain enlightenment, no longer are you basically a pawn for the gods, but you can actually override them and then become the master player in the game rather than them playing you all the time.
Whoa, wait. So hold on a minute. So this is, yeah, I've never heard this before. So what you're saying is, or I've never heard anyone talk about this before, but what you're talking about is regardless of what you know, when you were born, what time, what part of the hemisphere or whatever, you can, there's a way to overcome any governance by that if you ascend high enough. And so what how is that the same thing you're talking about in terms of cleansing and raising your chakras and whatnot?
Yeah, exactly that.
Okay.
And so once you attain enlightenment, you become a god on this plane. You incarnate your highest light, which is a god. So you basically become a god on this plane. And so then you have more control on this plane than the gods. This is where the 13th zodiac comes from, because they talk about Orpheus or something. And the 13th is like the Jesus Christ of the 12 disciples. So you've got the 12, which is the 12 zodiac, the 12 disciples. And then you have the anomaly, the 13th, or the one that has ascended them all and is the leader. So that's why Jesus Christ was the leader of the disciple. He was number 13. The letter M is the number 13, the same as magic, the same as master, the same as like mystic. This letter M is a really powerful letter, this number 13. So if you become an enlightened master, which is what Jesus did, which is what all the ascended masters, Krishna, the Buddha, they all came down, Mary Magdalene, they came down and became ascended masters. They became a god on this plane. They overcame the 12 zodiac and became the anomaly. And then they taught us in all the different religions, in all the different scriptures. They've taught us how to do that ourselves, which is what Santos's work is all about. He's found them and gone, okay, there's actually a guide in here to tell you how to actually do it. And there is. And so they're all telling us how to do it, but it's all been shrouded, and we believe it's like we take it to be literal rather than taking the metaphors in the stories. And so it's attainable for everyone, but it's just not been like obvious. But that's changing, because with the coming golden age, it's called the age of enlightenment. It's heaven on earth. So that means everyone on this plane will become enlightened. They'll all ascend and become a master and a god on this plane. So that's what's coming for everyone here, which is a nice thought. It just depends on how long you want to take to get there.
Yeah, and if you can accept it as well, I guess.
Yeah, just to add on to what Gabby was saying, it's interesting because the age of Pisces was I believe, whereas now we're in the age of Aquarius, which is I know. Because each sign has kind of a motto attached to it.
Yeah.
So Aquarius is not about believing anymore. We're in the age of knowing. So that's why a lot of people are having revelations and starting to like discover these things and get in touch with the more deeper stuff. Basically, it's because of this Aquarian consciousness, basically, which is about knowing rather than believing.
And I guess the inverted act upon that is when you think about like now the big term is fake news, and you've got fact checkers, and so let alone you might be getting information from places that you believe it to be true or whatnot. We're finding out that actually that's not true. So it seems more and more so that they're trying to put out like, yeah, you think look, here's some news here. Now you know what I mean? Like whatever we want you to know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it seems like there is a way that they act upon all of that at the same time. Man, so this is even larger than we thought, man. When you're trying to think like, okay, the time of the year, what's going on? Okay, no wonder they're acting this way, but then you got to think outside of that box as well.
Because what Gaby was saying as well about how you can ascend those like conditions, those 7 planets and there's 12 signs, because it's like there's a saying that Santos always says is that a fool is ruled by his stars, where a wise man rules his stars. So I think that's kind of what Gaby was alluding to. Is that's the whole point of knowing your birth chart and understanding all this, is so we can get past that and not react to when these particular energies try and test us. For example, like you might have an aspect where Mars is testing you, but by you knowing that, you can kind of think, okay, I know what's going on. I won't react to it. That's the whole point of knowing your birth chart, so you can get to know yourself and understand how you react to particular situations.
Oh, you hear that, mother lovers? Know your birth chart, man. Know your birth chart. It's that time.
But I'm not saying everything is based on your birth chart. I'm saying it just helps to know that, because obviously not everything you do is based on your birth chart. It's a big part of it, but also you have like things that are like genetic, and you have the way you're brought up and the environments you're brought in. Obviously, I'm not saying everything is like based solely on the stars, but it just what the stars. For example, you can have a brother and a sister. You can be all brought up in the same house, but you're all different. You all do things differently. You all react to things differently. Some are more emotional. Some are a bit more not so emotional, or might seem cold, or some, there's different dynamics even within one family, which goes to show that we're all constituted uniquely. So it's just about knowing your own unique constitution and trying to calibrate it, or just use it in the best way possible, basically. So
definitely, man. D.V.G. as always, boy. All right, let's get into demon slaying.
I definitely called myself a demon slayer on a video recently. So I can only imagine you calling me out.
Yeah. That's like, right, demon slayer. All right. How did you become a demon slayer?
So the first and the most important way is to know what a demon is and understand like how they affect your life. So most people, like, I talk about slaying demons and stuff, and they say, oh, demons don't affect me, like demons don't exist in my reality. But then they can have like a bad day, they can stub their toe, they can, like, things go wrong in their life, and they don't realize that that is literally a demon and a negative spell on their life. So what's happened is people believe that demons are these big scary monsters that like come at you at night, and not a lot of people experience them. But every single time someone calls you like a negative word, they've sent a demon to you. Like, demons exist all over. They're basically just negative energies, but all energy is conscious. And so it's recognizing first when you have got a demon bothering you or a negative spell on you, and it can manifest in intrusive thoughts, negative thoughts, feeling a bit depressed, wanting to eat shit food, wanting to watch some like crap TV that you've not watched in ages. It can be losing your keys. It can be any type of bad luck that happens in your life. Like, our lives are meant to go perfectly. If anything goes wrong in your life, you've got bad energy in you, around you, or near you. And so once you recognize, hang on a minute, I've just had a depressive thought, I can't be arsed doing what I love right now, or whatever it is, realize it's a bad spell, it's bad energy. You get rid of the bad energy, and then your whole like energy shifts, and you're like, okay, it was a spell because all I've done is cast away like one demon, and now I feel different. And so when you're aware of your energy and you do a spell to get rid of a demon, and then suddenly everything changes, then you really kind of recognize how much demons and bad spells like play out on this realm. And yeah.
So I guess
also, just to add to what Gaby was saying, like we also can create our own demons, or we can make a demon a bit more extreme. Like, for example, like Gaby was saying, if you've got a thought and then you keep entertaining that thought, or you've got like a bad habit, and every time it's like nudging you to do it, like if you keep like answering to it, then it's just going to get bigger. It's called an egregore. You just keep, basically you make that thing bigger, whereas it's like if you keep ignoring someone, after a while they're not going to entertain you, basically. So it's the same thing with when you've got a demon or a bad thought in you. So if you get a thought and you think, oh, and then you start thinking about it, and then it just goes on and on, you're giving that thing more energy. Like Gaby said, it's not necessarily a monster.
No.
It's just a feeling or a vibe that's in you. And the more energy you give it, the more it grows. And the less energy you give it, then the less energy, like, it won't like come back. What I try to do in them situations is sometimes, you know what I find myself doing is like, I'll start thinking about something negative, and then it will start like trying to grab hold of me. And then I think to myself, what? And I just start laughing about it. Like, it's almost like what I'm trying to do is like, just laugh it off. Like, yeah, whatever. It's like I find myself doing that a lot when I get a negative thought. And then I just think, oh yeah, whatever. And I kind of just try to laugh it off, if that makes sense. That's like my way of dealing with it in like a mental way, where like Gaby's saying, you've got like, you get thoughts and then you think, oh, like what's this thought about? Rather than you just think, oh yeah, whatever. And then you just kind of dismiss it. That's a really good way of getting rid of it, basically. Yeah,
it's like dealing with the fear, right?
Yeah.
The same thing like you were talking about earlier, Gaby, with dealing with the fear. It's like the more you just put your mind through it and just, like, okay, what am I worried about? What am I, and you understand that actually it's not as bad. Like,
because ultimately you're just worrying about something that hasn't even happened.
Yeah. And when you worry like
that's what we do. Like, when you really think about it, like anxiety is worrying about something that's not even.
It's praying for something you don't want.
Happen. You're just sitting there thinking, oh, what if it hasn't? So don't worry about it, kind of thing. Like, that's the way I try to look at it personally. But obviously, everyone's different, and we all deal with things in a different way. Like, although I've become a lot better in certain spiritual things, I've still got loads of like internal work to do. Like a lot of people think, oh, just because I know all this stuff that, yeah, I might be like all spiritual, and not at all. It's just like, this is just the start, man.
Yeah. It takes work, innit?
Yeah, man. I've been into all this stuff like proper from like 2013. And yeah, I feel like I've achieved certain things to climb that ladder, but I'm not thinking, yeah, I'm like this ascended master, or no way. I've got a lot of work to do. So like, it's not, you should always, just because you know knowledge, it don't mean that you got to apply the knowledge at the end of the day. You got to practice what you preach. So yeah, it's like we've always got to constantly work to get to that higher self. Do you get what I'm saying? And like Gaby said, like, we might not even, like, some of us might not even do it in this lifetime, but at least making a start will help you just to get there as best as you can, basically.
It's a hard thing to do as well, though. Like, right, to stick to, like, in terms of like bettering yourself in that way, because it's like you have to stick. It's like every day you got to remember what the aim is, right? And then with
Yeah.
everything going on around, do you know what I mean? It's quite hard to kind of get your mind.
Yeah, it's because of the lives and the systems and the things like the our lifestyle, the type of lifestyle we're in.
Mm,
Um,
it's
not
not
it keeps
based
us
around that.
trapped, but like, you know,
Distracted.
yeah,
Yeah.
distracted. Like
Mm,
even me, knowing what I know, I still get sidetracked by things, and I
mm,
think, oh, I start like in my mind, I think, I know that. Why am I doing this? Like, do you
mm.
get what I mean? But you got to go through it to every lesson is a blessing, hence the saying. Do you get what I mean? Like you just gotta. It all depends on how you interpret things and how you like how you decide to deal with it ultimately. Do you
Mm.
get what I'm saying? You can sit there and be depressed about something, or you can just get up and do something about it. It's up to you at the end of the day.
Yeah. That's the important part, man. It's like how you deal with it all, innit? It's like it's easy to just sit there and feel like, oh, shit ain't going right. But then when it's time, like, how are you gonna make that change? How are you gonna make shit go right then? Because you're still here to do it. Do you know what I mean? And that must be for a reason. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that's important, man. Deal with them demons. What were you doing? You just waving? Was that the one to get rid of the demons?
That was, yeah, I was getting a psychic attack on my crown chakra.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
can feel
See.
them sometimes. You can they're when someone has a negative thought about you, they
Mm,
send an energy snake, and then you can feel them attacking you, you can feel them biting you. And then what happens is the snake will come into your aura and then try and put a negative thought into your head. This is how demons work. The snakes are demons, it's all just bad spells and negative energy.
mm,
But the snake will come to you and it'll give you the energy of what they've sent to you, which might be someone thinks, oh, what a stupid bee. Someone might
mm.
have thought that about me and sent that negative energy to me. And then what happens
You
is
feel
that
it?
energy comes into me and it makes me say something stupid or act out the spell or the negative energy they've put on me. And then, so that's how demons work, that you can get pain demons that'll make you stub your toe or accidentally cut yourself. You can get all different types of demons, sad demons that'll make you just feel like you want to cry for no reason, depressed demons. Emotions are demons, basically. And so what's important when you're talking about recognizing doing the self work and all, but there's a lot of distractions and this kind of stuff. You can even have demons making you feel like you just can't be asked to do your spells and keep on top of your energy, or demons feeling like you just don't want to go out for a walk into nature. But
Mm.
that's because they feed off you and your energy as you are. If you shift your frequency higher, they can't stay on you because you're too high a frequency. So you're out of their like reach. So they have to go to someone else. So they will do everything in their power to keep you in your lower frequency because they feed off you in that state.
Gee, man, that's deep. Okay. Yeah,
Mm,
that makes a lot of sense. These
yeah.
demons, man.
So yeah, like it's always about
Wow.
like shifting your frequency and trying to fill yourself with as much light as possible, and then they can't like hang around.
So you practice. So what's this deal with the witches thing? Like, because you give a shout out to witches all the time. Like,
Yeah.
do you practice?
I
Is it called
hashtag
witchery?
witch because other people like the term witch and follow it and
Oh,
stuff. Like, um, I would say that I'm like more just like do energy work. Some people, I think one person actually said to me on one of my recent videos, I talked about having a psychic attack from a demon in my dream. And someone said, well, don't you think it's because of what you do that's brought it on? And I think that what
mm,
they were implying is, you know, like people see witchcraft as summoning demons in like a dark room and like basically manifesting what you
yeah.
want through the use of spirits and stuff. But they forget that everyone is practicing witchcraft every day, because every word you say, every thought you cast is creating an energy, either a positive one or a negative one, an angel or a demon, and projecting it out into this plane to fulfill your will. So everyone does it, but people don't realize that they're doing it. And so you have the power to create a beautiful divine life around you if you want to. It's just you need to be aware of your thoughts and the words you say, and basically your general energy, your vibration and stuff like that.
Right. Okay. So it's not, because people, as soon as you talk about witches, and people are like, hubble and bubble, toil and trouble, that type of thing. But it's definitely more to do with energy. And I guess the male version is the wizard, right? Is that right?
Yeah. But I think that the word magician is going to be the one that comes back. Like, people love Harry Potter and stuff like that. I think that, like, magic is the one that's going to be, like, the new kind of way to describe energy manipulation that doesn't have, like, old kind of, like, negative connotations, because people think of witches, like you say, as a bubble, boiling trouble or whatever. They see wizards as some crazy guy that lives in the forest and that's it. So I think that like magic would be probably the one that takes off.
Yeah. Did you see that the wizard? What was it? There's some crazy wizard. This is kind of off topic, but it's to do with a wizard. And he was in the mud somewhere out, like in the, I think it was in Holland or somewhere like that. And they're out in the mud, and there's like enough police out there, like, good, like it could be up to 20 something police. And this guy, for some reason, was never falling down in the mud, but they kept like slipping over. It was just hilarious, man. You didn't see that video? Did you see it? Yeah.
So yeah, and people are like, did he create the mud? Like, is some mud wizard that can defy gravity and just dance all over the thing? It was so good, and I just loved that. Like, it's bringing, like, I just see more and more that magic is like coming back, and people are realizing that magic is real, not only just in the way of, oh, your words cast spells, but literal things like telekinesis and mind reading and communicating through telepathy and stuff. These types of things are coming back too. Like, people are getting their psychic abilities back, even supernatural things that we would probably deem as whoa, like, is that even real? These things are coming back, and we're going to just start seeing more and more the emergence of it all.
When you say coming back, like, did it sort of, was it here and then disappeared in some form of way? And if so, how?
Yeah, it was fully here. Like, Atlantis and ancient Egypt and stuff, they were all master magicians. They could probably just think about something and create it. Like, they had a lot of spiritual power. And it's exactly what Mem was saying, is these cycles that we go through, it's like conscious cycles of getting really like within our power consciously and being able to be real amazing creators on this plane. And then as time goes on, we go away from God, we go away from our true source and our true power, and we become weak, and we don't realize we have the power to manifest, and even our own manifestation powers are weak. So it depends on how much light you have, which is dependent on how connected to the prime source creator you are, because that's where all light comes from, really.
Yeah.
So it comes in cycles, and so humanity descended and came away from God, and they lost their power and things like that. But it's coming back now, because we're on our way back towards being close to God and having the true connection with our true selves that we deserve, really.
Yeah, because do you think anyone can become like a witch or a wizard then, or do you have to go through the sort of lane
initiation? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Is that, does it happen like that, or is it more to do with your inner voice and intuition and that being?
I think it's like Gaby said, we're all magicians in a way. It just depends, like, what type of magician you are. You could be a good magician and like help people and give them positive energy and like, I'll give you an example. Yeah. Someone could say the same thing to you in two different tones, and one might upset you and one might not. Although they're the same words, the tone behind it, one might be a nicer tone and a calmer tone, and one might be a more negative tone, like, oh, what the fuck you doing, for example. Like, if someone shouted at you, it would shock you. Do you get what I'm saying? But like, if someone said, for example, oh, so like, what are you doing there, for example, in a calmer in a calmer vibe, that the way they're saying it obviously is a particular vibration. So then that vibration, the way you receive it, will then have a different vibration on, like Gabby was saying earlier, your waters, or because do you know about like cymatics, for example, how like when they do like tests, they like put salt on a table and then they'll turn the sound to different frequencies and it will create different geometries and different shapes and patterns.
Yeah.
So that's like what Gabby was saying earlier about how when you say a particular word or with something in a particular tone, once that hits your aura, it then creates a particular pattern or a particular frequency that you then read. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's why, like in the Bible, they talk about like God created like the world with the word, which is just ultimately talking about sound, basically.
Talking about sound, yeah. And so that's like it's what you're talking about is the water, right? What Gabby mentioned, that Dr. Emoto, so it's to do with water sort of holding memory and also being reactive to the type of energy that you give it. So he kind of proved that. I think one of the tests was to do with, was it he freezes the water, like so they would say, you know, they'd say derogatory things to the water or whatever, swear at it, and then freeze that, and then the when it crystallized, like the patterns that came up were all sort of messed up, and you know they didn't look that great. But then when they spoke to the water with love and gave it like positive energy, and then crystallized that, they noticed that the patterns were all beautiful, and you know
they've done that with plants as well.
Done it with plants as well.
Yeah, like you can talk like there's an experiment like where they've spoken to plants nicely and badly, and the one that's spoken to nicely grows nicer, and you know it's just.
And so
you know they say like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's the perfect example of an inverse. What we was talking about earlier, basically.
Jeez. That's some shit you might not never know nothing about right there, boy. We got D.V.G. Yeah, man. And Gaby Zacara right here. Myself, MysDiggi, Dan DNA. You good, man? He's holding himself together.
Down the chat. Yeah, no, it's the water, the plant thing was I think the guy's called Cleve Baxter, I think his name was, who done the plant experiments. Where they also done things like pouring coffee down sinks where there was mold down there, and then they noticed all of the electro thingies spiking. So they thought, oh, it's the mold where we're pouring the hot coffee on the mold down the sink.
Well, and it worked. It got rid of the mold.
You see the mold. You see like the electro, like they use like what they called lie detector tests things, galvanic skin response or whatever it was. So they put all those tests all around the lab, and they was testing what happened if you bent a plant, if you snapped a leaf off of one plant, the other plants around that plant all reacted to it.
Wow!
And if you played it good music or bad music, or that's subjective.
So that's the bioenergy field. So you've got like obviously the liquid is like reacting in some way, and that's why like people, you know, someone shouts at you, you might feel, like you feel it all around your body. You know, that's the water right there reacting to that. But then also there's like a bioenergy field. There's like a field around that we can't see, but you know, you walk into a room and you just feel like, well, people been arguing or something here.
Yeah.
Something happened here, you know. That's that field, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, like what you was just saying about the water thing, like analogy you could use is like if someone was like screaming and shouting at you, it'd be like someone splashing like loads of water and it all going everywhere. Whereas if someone just kind of spoke to you nicely, it would just be the water going calmly. Like, for example, you could use that as an analogy. Like,
maybe them just passing.
If someone speaks to you, like in a rough tone or a like aggressive tone, then your waters will be quite disruptive.
Yeah.
It will be quite shaky. Whereas if it's in a nice tone, they'll be a bit more calmer. So, like, you know, it's just different analogies and different ways like you can explain it kind of in layman's terms. Because the thing is with spirituality, sometimes what people don't realize is when we're talking about demons or these type of things, like people may assume we're thinking about actual people like with little horns and stuff like that. Like that's not what me and Gabby are talking about. Basically, it's a lot more poetic and philosophical. But the reason why sometimes you have to explain it in that way is because it's kind of too deep to explain in normal terms. So you've got to use an example to explain what you're talking about, basically. Which is why the Bible and all these books are written in a particular way, because what they're talking about is so deep is that they have to kind of explain it in a poetic or a metaphorical way, basically. It's a way of encapsulating all of the knowledge in a shorter, more concise way.
And for you to interpret.
Yeah.
How it would mean to you, because it is like that with everything, with all this sort of like, you know, truth finding. It does boil down to how you perceive it, you know, and your in terms of your perception of, you know, digging deep enough into it, and then even understanding what it means and what it is like a whole, you know, that's a whole nother chapter. So
yeah, I think the best way to come to like a conclusion is kind of if your intuition matches with like the knowledge, you know, for example, and then they both kind of come together, then you can kind of think, oh, okay, that makes sense. So like, do you get what I mean? That's how it kind of like happens with me, or like knowing I think it all comes down to like knowledge is one part of it, which would be your mind or the lamb, and then the other part would be your heart, which is the lion. Hence, they say there'll only be peace when the lion and the lamb lay together, which is your heart chakra and your crown chakra.
Ooh.
Basically. So once those two are aligned, then that's when you'll be at peace, if that makes sense.
It's a hard place to find for some.
Yeah, man, it's tough, but yeah, like at the end of the day, like yeah, man, like everyone's like the way I've come to see all this as well is like I used to be a lot more forceful in my we've spoken about this before, in my way of trying to tell people this information. But like what I've come to learn is that not everyone is ready for the information, and not everyone wants to hear it. So, like, yeah, it's tough sometimes. Like, there's been so many times where I've been in a conversation and people are talking, and I'm like inside my mind, I'm banging my head because I want to say something which I know I've learned or I've uncovered, but then I think, do I really want to go there? Because it's gonna like, it might confuse them even more. Do you get what I mean? Like if you start getting like too deep with it. So like sometimes it's like weighing out how you're gonna tell the information and who you're gonna tell the information to as well, because like for example, this type of information, it's very profound information and it can throw people off and send them in mad different directions. So like you got to be careful of kind of who you're telling this information to, because like for example, I'll give you an example. There's a guy who's living in the Matrix. He's got a wife, he's got kids, he's got family, and he's just getting along with his life. He don't know nothing about none of this stuff. And then you start telling him all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, for example, he's like, oh, this is all bullshit, this is all a lie, or whatever. Then he leaves his wife and his kids, and his family gets broken up, and blah, blah, blah. So what I'm saying is, this knowledge is not like it's powerful stuff. So you got to be ready to handle it or be in the right circumstance to handle it ultimately. Because, like I say, you can kind of be playing happy families and having that normal life, and then you find out all this stuff and you feel like you've been betrayed. And then people might want to think, oh, fuck all this. And then you've got a broken family there. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's hard in trying to gauge who you really tell this information to. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Of course, man. Definitely. Like you said, I think it seems to be just, I don't know, you could call it kind of levels of initiation, but it's down to one just kind of being more in touch with their intuition, I think, because everybody's kind of got it in some form of way. It's just some people might hear it and go, no, you know, just run off, kind of give you that stare, like.
One thing that I've found is the more you learn, the more you say that every negative thought creates something in the cosmos, then you're more responsible for every single thought you have. And so you can't like get away with allowing negative thoughts to slip or allowing yourself to be speaking negatively about people and stuff like that. You because you're more responsible, you then have to like really put that to practice. And so you will find that I've found the more I've been on this path, the more it really has become a lifestyle. It's no longer like, oh, every Sunday I'll just go to church and then I'll be an arsehole the rest of the week.
Yeah.
It's like you literally have to live the path. And Santos always talks about don't throw your pearls to swine. What I've experienced in terms of practicing magic and stuff is there's certain spells I would never share on like online or with just anyone, because when we are in our ego, which is our emotions, we're all black magicians, because every time you are creating anything, it's coming from your emotional state, which is dark light. It's not light. So what happens is if you were to become aware of powerful spells and you're coming from the ego, then it's possible you would use those spells against people in an ego way, in an emotional way. You're just angry or sad about something, so you try and cast black magic on them. And so this is kind of like you need to almost be very careful. But at the same time, what I try and do is I try and teach people, like we'll have a conversation. I'll just try and teach them truth when I can. Because even if it like ruins their whole family and they decide they want to leave their partner and follow this path, as long as it's to follow the path and to become their best selves, I would rather their soul find God than bother about any material, emotional connections they have on this plane. I think the most important thing we all need to be doing is to be trying to strive for the light and to try and strive to ascend from this plane and not get caught up in the emotional ties we can have on this plane. And so it is a difficult like kind of line to walk, but I try now, even if I'm going to bruise someone's ego, to try and teach them the truth anyway, even if they'll hate me for it, even if they'll send me negative energy for it, because I think that helping their soul is more important than helping their ego or pandering to people's egos.
Yep. Ultimately, what you're saying, Gabby, is the truth overrules everything anyway.
Yeah.
So,
truth overrules. Yeah. You're right about that, man. Yes, big up to the chat room going in, man. You lot are going back and forth. I think there was a conversation about the plants. And yes, I think the CO2 definitely helps. Interestingly enough, we won't go further into that though. But yes, I'm sure it does. Big up to your more Regantology. Yes, Les Allison. Shout out to Amber Tarboosh Records. Yep. What's going on, Amber? King Chico. Yes, man. People enjoying it, man. That's really good to hear.
Yeah, everyone's been jumping in on every single turn in the conversation.
Big up to Sinead. Shout out to Liz Williams. Teddy T.
Someone, Amber Tarboosh Records, asked, are you talking about actual demons or metaphorical demons?
Yeah, so it's actual demons,
Right,
but
okay.
like Mem says, it's not like they are little gremlins with pointy horns. They might manifest that way. You might even see them that way in your mind's eye. They can basically make themselves look however they want. It's just negative energy that can manifest however it would be most fearful to you. And because they're conscious, sometimes demons can literally be a projection of your own consciousness, like Mem said. So it can be that you've literally created it, maybe as a way of showing you how fearful you are of life and you need to overcome it or whatever it is. And so it projects itself consciously as what you personally would most fear, and it changes for everyone. And they can even be intelligent to the point where a demon can wait around and attack you at a certain specific time that would be the worst time to get a psychic attack. So people can cast black magic and say, every time Gaby does a live, she gets attacked by negative energy. And what happens is every time I do a live, I get attacked by negative energy. And so that's an example of how they can like basically work on a time schedule. They play out people's desires and their will. And they can literally they can almost have a mind of their own and basically be intelligent like that. It's interesting.
Yeah, that is very, very, very. I think
it's like you're basically creating all these little like personalities or these little things inside of you, and like you're just like wrestling with them through life basically to try and get rid of them. But ultimately it's just like it's just yourself, and it's just like, again, the way it's all to do with, like, how can I say, like, for example, getting this particular energy, or I mean, like, not this energy, understanding this type of knowledge is all to do with, like, you can look at, like, think of it as your aura or your Taurus field, and think of it as like a bandwidth or like a modem. Like, the faster the bandwidth is, the more you can kind of download, or like the slower your bandwidth is, like, hence, when they say you're thick when you don't get something, that means you're thick because your Taurus field is so dense that it won't get through to you. Get what I'm saying? Whereas if your Taurus field is going at a higher bandwidth, then your download speed is more faster, so then you can get things in. But all those things you get in are not necessarily all good. There can be negative as well. It just depends on how you deal with them, Like, this is like why, for example, when people do like psychedelics and stuff, they get to see all these different things because their Taurus field is now like got a higher bandwidth, so they're downloading more images and more things. So that's why they get to see or go to these different planes or these different frequencies, basically.
Yeah. We got to reach them frequencies, bruv.
And so, what about with say like the people talk about these like mechanical elves with the ayahuasca and things like that? What do you think about stuff like that?
Mechanical elves.
Yeah. Do you think they're demons, or are they sort of something else, or do you know anything about them?
I personally just think that they're interdimensional beings.
Right.
I think that there's different beings that exist, like almost maybe infinitely in all different dimensions, positive ones and negative ones. So the elves, there could be nice ones, there could be negative ones, the same as humans, really. And I think that the drug opens up their consciousness to that plane where they experience the beings on that plane. And I think all drugs take you to different planes. There's some that are like uppers and some that are downers. So alcohol, as an example, will allow a lot of negative energies in, which is why a lot of people don't drink alcohol. The word al-ghul is what it comes from, I think, which is ghouls, ghosts, booze, demons, spirits, jinn. It's all to do with like negative entities. But then there's other drugs like MDMA it takes you to real high planes, especially if your body's clean and stuff. There's something called, I think it's entheogens and entaxogens. The actual word itself means to bring in the divine. And so these particular types of drugs literally incarnate the divine higher planes within you. But what's really interesting is that because it's all frequencies, because it's all planes, you can access them without the substance as well. And I've heard of people who, there's something called an icaro. When you do like ayahuasca, sometimes people hear this song of ayahuasca and they can sing this song and they chant this song. And people have said that the different drugs, because they are alive and conscious as well, when you take ayahuasca, you're greeted by Mother Ayahuasca. Mary Jane has a divine feminine Mary type figure, like a consciousness that governs the plant. And if you sing their songs, you can basically invoke the same reactions within your body as if you've actually inhaled or taken the substance. So you can literally just sing the song and attune your body to that frequency and experience the same stuff as you would if you actually had the medicine. And I've actually got stoned at stone circles before off the earth because the stones have got such high frequency in because they're built on ley lines and stuff. So you can literally connect to the stones and feel stoned because, again, weed is a plant that grows from the earth and it gets its energy from the earth. So you can access these realms without actually taking the drugs, which is quite fun too.
Gaby, just to add to what you're saying, is true because like for example, right, like when I went to Cyprus, right, and I had like loads of like hot weather and it was like a lot of heat on me. Literally felt like I was stoned without being stoned because of all that energy from the sun. Do you get what I mean? So I totally get what you're saying when you're saying that because I've kind of experienced it myself. Like you just because like the sun is so much on you and you've got all that sunlight and you're taking in all those rays, it's kind of alkalizing your body to feel more pure and to feel more lighter. Do you get what I'm saying? Which is why like we all get ill in the winter over here because due to the lack of sun. Do you get what I mean? So totally, like you said, it just all depends on how you do it and just the knowledge of knowing how to reach those states in different ways. Do you get what I mean? Like totally.
Yeah. Boy. You got me thinking now. I've got to clean it up a bit, man.
I think people do breath work as one of the easy and quick ways of getting to these different states.
Breath work. Yeah, that's quite interesting. So you mean like Wim Hof type?
Yeah, have you done it?
Nah, well, I've done like the cold shower thing and all that, but not necessarily the full-on breath work yet. I think the cold shower thing is it works, man. You handle like the cold weather a bit better for sure.
In ancient Greece, I've got a book. In ancient Greece, this is interesting, Gaby. Like for example, about holding the chrism and not getting rid of the chrism. In ancient Greece, apparently, when like young boys used to feel like lustful or horny, they would make them have like cold showers to like settle down, they're like passionate energy basically. So it kind of cools down the body.
Ah, see it there?
Yeah, because if you're feeling all hot and lusty and whatever, and then you just go under like a cold shower, it's like a shock to the system, innit? So it's then gonna just like cool you down a bit. Do you get what I mean? So like, yeah, there's so many different ways, I guess, like you can do so many different things, but it's just the knowledge and like reading up on it and and trying to apply it and see. Like, for example, is another reason why sometimes like we've given advice is that what might work for one person might not work for another person as well. There's different things like that. But generally, like Gaby said, like the best way is just to be your purest and your best version of yourself and you know, and like when we say like reaching heaven as well, like, well, from my perspective anyway, but I'm sure Gabby kind of has the same idea, is that like we're not talking about like going in the sky and meeting all these people, like literally. Being in heaven is like a state of mind. Do you get what I'm saying? So like if you're resonating at a high frequency, feeling good, you're looking good, you're healthy, then you're in heaven. But if you're all like miserable and just eating shit and you're just like upset and like pissed off at the world, then you're in hell.
Get out of my head, Mems.
Huh?
Get out of my head. How dare you describe me? No, it's not really me.
That's why it's feeling that way.
Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead, Gabby. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's the thing about this Earth plane is it's the middle plane, like people, it's called like Midgarth, I think, in like Lord of the Rings or something. But it's basically the realm where both heaven and hell can exist in the same place, depending on your mindset. But what's happening is because the Earth is shifting in frequency, and so are we, we're going to be at a point where it's only heaven on Earth now and hell on Earth won't exist anymore. This is why the ascension's happening and the energy is raising higher. And so it has been like the middle ground, almost like purgatory, I think Sinead's saying. And that is exactly true, because it's been like the middle plane where the planes lower than this are the hellish realms, the planes higher than the earth are the heavenly realms. And you can choose to go up, down, or stay. And so it's been like a kind of a middle place, but it's changing where now heaven on earth is manifesting, which will be nice for everyone, I think.
Yeah, ultimately, personally, from my understanding of like scripture and spirituality and just in general, like, and again, this can change because obviously when we learn every day and we come across new ideas or new realizations, this like can change. But ultimately, the way I see it is the God and the devil are parts of us. They're inside of us. But it just depends on who you're giving more attention to. You know, you're giving attention to that guy inside of you saying, yeah, go on, eat that thing. It doesn't matter. Go on, it won't hurt. And then he says it to you again and you just keep doing it. Or you're going to listen to that side of you that says, no, I'm not going to do it because it's no good for me. Do you get what I'm saying? So within us, we have both of those archetypes. And it just depends on which one, who we give our attention to more, is whether we believe in God doing good or devil, which take away the D and it's doing evil. So, you know, like when we're talking about these things, like a lot of people think we're talking about it from a like more of like a sky god or like a religious kind of perspective. I don't anyway, talking for myself, it's more of a like internal thing and like about the human psyche and how the human psyche works. Do you get what I mean? So it's more of, again, a metaphorical or an allegorical way of looking at it.
Love that, man. Nah, man. Makes sense, bruv. Listen, man. Hey, Gabby, remember, I'd love to do this again at some point, man. If you like,
yeah, just let us know. I mean, I'm up for it.
Definitely
so yeah, just
fun,
let
man.
us know. Or like, if you want to talk about a particular subject, we can maybe
exactly. Yeah. We'll get deep on
more specific. But either way, everything's connected anyway. So we're always going to delve into different subjects when we're talking about one subject. So
yeah. No, I know what you mean. I think like, you know, it was good to get like an idea as well of different aspects of things. I think more people are going to understand now when they're dealing with demons, whether they've realized it or not. Do you know what I mean? And that there are ways to actually overcome those demons. Like we were saying about thinking in a more positive light, as well as, you know, even going to that dark place, trying to understand why it's happening. But yeah, man, really appreciate you coming through, Gaby. Thanks for that.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's been so nice to just have like a proper conscious conversation. You guys probably know, like they're kind of like few and far in between, like just with the everyday person. So it's nice to actually get like minds together and have a proper convo. So thanks, and to everyone as well in the comments and who's been engaging and stuff. It's just really fun to connect with you all. So appreciate it a lot.
Wicked, man. Please come through again. Yeah,
they've loved it, and they're all like very open minded, and we just generally chat about whatever, and everyone in the chat seems to jump on board. So
yes,
it's all good. Thank you for coming on.
How can people get hold of you? Do you want to give a shout out to your contacts?
Yeah, I'm just Gaby Zacara on like pretty much everything. So it's just GABY and then ZACARA. I've got some new tracks coming out actually this month. It's all like conscious music. It's got powerful spells in and stuff like that. So if you guys wanted to check it out, I've got my stuff on Spotify. And my TikTok is Gaby Zacara 333. Other than that, everything's just Gaby Zacara. So yeah.
All right, wicked. That's Gaby Zacara, mother lovers. Show some love. Yes, and Mem, how can people get hold of you? Of course, man.
Yeah, my YouTube channel, Conscious Minds TV.
Yeah. And
on Instagram at MEMDVG. They're like my two, or on my Facebook, which is just my actual name. But yeah, I would say Instagram at MEMDVG, or on YouTube, Conscious Minds TV, where you can check out. I've got me and Gaby have got a few shows that we did together like a little while back. If anyone wants to check them out, I think we did one on dreams, and we did one on like etymology and language, from what I can remember.
Oh, wicked! Oh, you gotta dig them out there for sure, man. We love the etymology up here. I'm telling you. Yes, man. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for coming through, guys.
No, thank you for having us.
We appreciate you, man. Dan's going to get well. All right. And of course, before we go, we got to give a shout out to the cmossboss.co.uk, mother lovers. Yes, for all your sea vegetables, wild crafted, organic. Yeah, I mean, straight off the coast, the Atlantic shores, clean. If you want to get yourself, what have they got, man? Look, you can get spirulina flakes, bladderwrack flakes, wakame, sea spaghetti, Irish moss seasoning. No, Irish seasoning. Why does it say Irish seasoning? Irish, then Irish seasoning. You got dose as well. And listen, man, these foods are packed with like crazy amount of nutrients, man. We've gone through it a countless amount of times. So you must understand by now. And look at me, man. I'm still standing. My nails slowly growing out. It looks weird. I don't really want to. I've taken pictures of it. So one day, if you lot are capable of it, you can look through the album and see how messed up. Bruv, it's like The Fly. You remember The Fly?
Maybe you could do a time. Have you got loads of different shots of it? You do a time lapse.
Yeah, it looks mad.
Falling off and growing back.
Yeah, it looks weird. But, this is what's helping, is eating these foods, man. So make sure you get yourself over to the cmossboss.co.uk. We wouldn't be sharing this if we didn't think it was worth it. Dan tried out. He finally got to try out the CMOS gel. He's feeling it. His hair grown out like crazy. You know what I mean? You can see it there. So please make sure, man, you hit them up. When you get to the checkout, if you put in about 20, all in uppercase, about 20, you get yourself 20% off any order. That's the cmossboss.co.uk. And love to Richie and Touré. Always. You know what I mean? And thank you to the chat room, man. The Uncommon Senses in the building, man. So many of you lot came through and spreaded your love, spreaded your knowledge. Big up. You had your little back and forths. We appreciate all of that as well. Do you know what I mean? Shout out to Liz Williams, Yamore, King Chico, Teddy T. Shout out to Les Allison. Big up. Big up all the crew, man. Yo, there's a lot of people, man. I got to scroll through. Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth there. Big up Tarboosh Records, man. Amber, love, bro. Shout out to Holy Trinity 369. Sinead, one love. Shout out to Gleam, always, man. Oh, that's hilarious, man. You can see some. He's like having fun, man. Dad was poking the fire as well. That's hilarious. But yeah, it's good to see, man. Big up Daniel Corey. We appreciate each and every one of you lot coming through, man. As always, Regantology. We'll be back next week, man, with some more of that shit you might not never know nothing about. Shout out to Siobhan Wallace. Yeah, I did enjoy that. I think, the dreams thing, man, I really got to start looking into my dreams, trying to understand what they mean. And there's one where there's a dog always barking at me. Shout out to Mr. Green, by the way.
That's bad. That's bad, that one.
What, when the dog's barking at you? What does that mean, man?
I don't know.
Yeah,
they're all, they're all you. All the characters are you.
Yeah, that's what I heard. You got to kind of talk to the character, like try and look at things from the point of view. So now I'm trying to look from the dog's point of view, like, why am I barking at me? And then
what are you trying to tell yourself? What are you trying to? You trying to warn yourself? Is it a warning bark or is it a joyful bark?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. And then I had to try and understand that. Was the dog happy?
You got to learn dog.
From my point of view, it just sounds like an angry dog, because when do I know when a dog's happy when it's barking at me?
So your next mission is to get to know dogs.
Yeah,
you got to get to know some dogs and just see what the difference.
Bark. You know what I mean? I got to roll around with some like Rottweilers.
Get chased, make friends, roll around, throw a stick.
Oh man, somehow.
Put up lampposts.
Anyway, mother lovers, we'll see you lot next week, man. My name is MysDiggi. That's Dan DNA. And you know what we're about, mother lovers. Some shit you might not know nothing about. Ever. Bitches and bitchettes. Peace.